Hello, everyone. It's me, Ali, Director of Developer Marketing, back again. This time with a session from Danny Chepenko, who is the Head of Growth and Data at SpatialChat, and he is joining us from Japan, which is very exciting. In case you missed it during the last session, just a quick PSA about where things are. You can jump between our tracks using the menu in the upper left, go into breakouts and lounges using the nav bar on the top in the white. Join our community to chat with Danny, all of our other speakers, a bunch of other awesome community members up there. Let's see if I can point. There it is. Up also in that white nav bar. You can find the agenda in the top right, and then on the right-hand side is our chat and our Q&A. Feel free to say hi, tell us where you're coming in from, introduce yourself to Danny in the chat, and if you have any questions while he's talking through, please drop those in the Q&A, and we will go through them at the end. But with that, I can turn it over to Danny and his presentation. He'll tell you all about operational analytics, one of our favorite topics.
Yeah, thank you, Ellie. So some check, you can hear me. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's start then. Yeah, so today I'm going to talk about our path in SpatialChat and how and our perception of what actually operational analytics is, and I want to actually talk how you can power the growth of your B2B product with wise usage of analytical tools. So a couple words about myself. So I'm heading growth, operations, and analytics in our company called SpatialChat. So, like as it's always happened in startups, you're wearing multiple hats. But over the last year, I think about 60% of my time I'm doing some analytical tasks, and also other time I dedicate to operation and growth activities. Prior to SpatialChat, I worked about 5 years in different domains in data science and analytics. And I worked in e-commerce, in recommendation systems. I worked in fintech, where I worked mostly with time series data around financial quant font, and I also did a personal project in career tech advising. So I helped build a recommendation system to help prospective students choose the best college to go into. So I'm quite excited about some open source movement happening in data fields over the last couple of years. Also enjoys learning new languages. So yeah, and enjoy traveling and learning new cultures. Yeah, so what is SpatialChat? SpatialChat is a B2B tool designed for remote teams, so we can build a better sense of belonging in this online world, or we happen to be over the last two years. Just to give some anchor points on what we are now. So we like 10 million, or from in a bucket on 1 million to 10 million ARR company. We have around 40 people in 12 countries. Our sales model is a hybrid with some sort of self-service plus inside sales team. We actually have pivoted, I think, 3 times over the course of 2 years, with starting with some networking space for online events, and we follow transition into productivity tools to remote team, and currently we're also evolving our proposition, something like a virtual office. And yeah, fun fact, no one from our team, from founding team, has any B2B background at all. Yeah, I thought of who could be interesting in this conversation. I guess like the audience is pretty heterogeneous today, so I found like I actually encourage question and looking for your input about anything related to revenue ops, any like if you data apps founder, so please I think you can find from this talk you can find what actually problems facing B2B founders these days. If you're trying to set up your team in B2B SaaS, so you'll also learn our success and fails in this conversation. So let's So that actually, I think, what if you're doing some B2B SaaS, so you basically have seen this the slides before. So that actually is a common pipeline of how you should design actually as a B2B SaaS. For example, you have an idea, then you go to product hunt or to go to any other channel. You find the first few customers, then you craft your GTM plan. You design whether you're going to inside sales or you're going to be still service or you're going to like do some hybrid. Then you do the operational stuff, and then you're starting thinking, okay, how you can scale this growth. In reality, in SpatialChat, since maybe because we didn't know how to do B2B business before, maybe because we tried to reinvent something on our own, but we didn't follow that footstep. So when we had an idea, we just decided to push it in product hunt, and we launched our product in 2020 in April. And actually, it was a very good time for launching the product because everyone went to because of the pandemic, everyone shifted to work from home environments. And we had like I think over the first ones, we had about 1,000 users. And we started Googling what is actually GTM, what is how to design sales teams. So we actually started thinking about operations. And at the time, we also started thinking, okay, how to design the better GTM. And it's actually from this linear things that I showed in the previous slide. It's appeared to be some sort of iterational flywheel that we actually keep using. So every decision about every new hypothesis about GTM, we validate that on like in the first customers. Then we actually think of how we can scale and what's the operation and backbone we should have to support these ideas. So and what I actually come up with over like this 2 years, what is actually operational analytics in my definition is actually a backbone of your GTM strategy. It helps you to design and to validate if you're actually on the right track. So we're all about modern data stacks these days. So I want to show you how actually our notion of using data evolved and our data stacks evolved over these 2 years. So in the first 6 months, we were very focused on finding our product market fit. So we launched with a self-service, plus we have a contact sales button just to capture this leads and to have a better in-depth conversation with them. Around the time, we also started picking our operation systems like CRM, like help desk, and recruiting new team members. We did have a like minimal data stack. I will go through it in slides. Yeah, in the first 6 months, I would say the cost of insights is pretty low. You can find the direction where to go with your product, like from even from a quantitative approach, right? When you have a conversation with your customers, you don't have to do much data science, data work here, but I think the good combination helps you to with the visibility. So that actually how our data stack looked in the first 6 months. So as I said, we really were focused on talking to our customers, but we set up Amplitude as an event-based system. We also use Google Analytics mainly to track the attribution channel, and I think it have a better visibility of different of users in terms of which countries they come from. And for some operational data, we just use Postgres, and we make a replica of Postgres and connect it to Reddash to do some very basic analytics across our products DB. So when we understand that we actually have some product market fit, so we started drafted the first GTM hypothesis, and we decided actually to build a strong sales team, right? So we didn't do self-service that much, so we hired the sales leader, and we tried to be like to go from top to the bottom. Yeah. And at the time, actually, our team started asking the questions like, okay, we have data about the user spread across different systems like CRM, help desks, accounting software, some product DB. Like it would be really nice to have a visibility of the customer across in the particular system. We solved it with the workflow automation. It's all this like Zapier, Integromat, and 8N, really great tools if you need to design some trigger-based data flows. Yeah, and at the time you get a lot of ad hoc queries actually, like because the product evolving, like you have some inputs, you try to validate whether you're in the right track or not, and you as the only guy, me as the only guy who was responsible for data, like everyone was coming to me and said, hey, can you check like what's the response rate for that, or how many leads we had over the last months? And you have to design some SQL query, or you have to design the operating system in that way they provide this data for the end users. So that's how a data stack looks in the first year. So if you don't know this this logo on the right side, it's closed CRM. It's a very nice CRM system for the growing companies, and we actually with some workflow automation tool, we uploaded a lot of data to Close itself without actually storing it elsewhere. And also with this Zapier and workflow automation help us to connect all like help desk with CRM system, with accounting softwares, connect Stripe payments with CRM system, and so on. But again, all these three systems lived in bit in isolation. So we still were using actually replica of Postgres and did some Red Dash over that. And that was fine, I think, at the time. We also starting testing some attribution channels. So we were at, again, our stack didn't change that much. We were on Google Analytics and Amplitude. Both of the tool provide a very seamless way integrating any marketing automation. Yeah. Oh, we just, I think I haven't mentioned that we are a web-based product. We don't have mobile applications. So it is a lot of things with marketing. So we then in the next 18 months, we understand that we actually in a product-led sales. So since we didn't completely remove the self-service, and we had a very powerful free plan, so we decided, okay, we can actually utilize. We had a first ideas about how to utilize this data to power the sales force. But at the time, you should keep in mind that there's always trade-off between your sales organization and product organization. Like in terms of hiring, for example, you have to decide, okay, whether I need another account manager or I need to hire a product manager so they can have the self-usage role. It's all about trade-off, yeah. We also had the data warehouse at the time. We actually pick up Postgres. It's like we considered BigQuery and Snowflake, but decided, okay, let's stick on Postgres for a while, and then we'll see what we need to switch to. At the time, we also hired the first data person. So before that, I was the only guy who did some analytical stuff in the company. We also designed the ETL flow. We used Stitch and Airbytes. We'll go through it a bit later. And at the time, what actually happened, we have to migrate from one operation system to another. I mean, it's probably even talking to some other founders in B2B space, it's happening quite regularly when you start with one system and then you decide to go to another, just because it's not, the one is more designed for a growing organization, another is more designed for they have some preference in terms of where your company registers. It's when it comes to accounting software, especially, that's very relevant. And without actual data warehouse, that would be a really painful process. So it's having all data in data warehouse. It was the first time we benefited from that. It was, I think, because otherwise we will lost a lot of data due to inconsistency. And I think actually on that time, you starting counting your analytical costs. Because before that, you think of data as a growth thing, and you don't actually focus on that much. But when you pick up Postgres, when you pay for your cloud, you actually have your own budget. So at the time, I started a lot of conversation with different vendors about because I actually have a budget I can operate with. So that's how our data stacks look at the time. So we were again we shifted from Close to HubSpot. Again, like HubSpot, we uploaded a lot of data. They have some in HubSpot. There is a lot of integration with third-party tools like Clearbit, Calendly, Stripe. So we don't really need to do that through middleware. But what we actually have shifted to, as I've said, we designed our data warehouse at the time. So we picked up Airbyte and also Patch Airflow to design ETL, because not every connector existed in Airbyte, so we need to do some ETL with Python. And we designed 5 different data marts. So the sales one, operational, revenue, marketing, and finance. So this distinction was due to the number of stakeholders that existed and their demand for the better data visibility. And as an output of data warehouse, we had like Redash, Metabase, Jupyter Hub for doing some Python stuff. And we also have a data studio because we do have some external users who we sent some analytics for our clients. And data studio was at the time like the most cost-effective solution. So where are we now and what I came up with? So even if we pick up Metabase, at some point of time, I understand dashboards are not enough. I will go through that a bit later. We need to focus on data activation from dashboards to build some data activation. Also, as we like when it comes to product qualified leads, like classification and the qualification of users is not that hard task. Actually, you can do some heuristics. Maybe you can even design some machine learning approach. But what is really hard is to find a better way to engage with these clients. So it's better to think how you can design the proper product user relationship so you can actually approach these customers you have qualified. And the last point is that you focus on small data but big value. So you always need to think how you can maximize the value of observable data, because actually collecting more data is pretty cool. But you actually need to have a person who will work with this data, who will go through this, who can find the insights. And it's, as I said, it's all about the trade-off. So you better think how you can maximize the data right now. So that's what we are currently heading to. So the main difference from this slide is that we, on our data modeling stuff, we're switching to dbt. And we also tried reverse ETL. So now we're pushing data from data warehouse to HubSpot, to Amplitude, to our advertisement systems. We also have come up with some self-crafted metric storage. We did consider a few vendors, but we decided, okay, let's keep something internal for now. And actually, so as I've said previously, like dashboards are not enough, right? And I think when I started getting a first ad hoc queries, I started, okay, how can I actually build some self-service experience in our organization? How can I help people to not actually to flood me with the ad hoc, which I didn't quite like at the time. How they can actually do research on themselves. So the first idea was, okay, let's design some dashboards. And I did some data engineering and I built this. So probably it's not the best data visualization, but it's the data usage of specific domain in our product. So the idea was like, okay, our account manager log in Metabase and they see like how people use the product, and they can actually set up some hypotheses in terms of how they can approach a customer and what they can talk about on their sales calls. But that didn't go that well because I don't think actually dashboard bring much value at the time. People have to switch focus. People have to switch focus from HubSpot to another tool. They have to learn a new tool, and it's not what's needed actually. What we come up with, it's like I think the very basic flow for all reverse ETL products. So we just push that at HubSpot, and so it helps with you have like more promising inbound lead classification. Account manager can prioritize their outreach for existing clients. You actually spend less time in integration work. Like I don't have to do any Zapier and Integromat stuff, and you can do actually more accurate forecasting with that approach, because HubSpot enables you to do some for in-built forecasting. Also, what I found quite interesting one is that we need to switch from dashboards to alerting, and we need to think about in actions, not in data. So that's our approach for that. For example, we have the Slack bot, which we do some classification, and we send this data to Slack, and like our account manager can decide, okay, what should I do with that? Should I invite them to onboarding, or whether I can add a task or whatever. Or for example, SpatialChat is still popular about events, so some people host events here. So what should we do after the event? We can send the review. We can ask them to review us on G2, or maybe we can just see the data. And you may actually question, okay, why do we need the Slack middleware here? But I think you can actually build, you have to find a combination between high touch and tech touch and high touch communication approaches. So high touch, and when actually the people itself contact your user, and tech touch, and when you automate some things. So when it comes to B2B and you have leads, there's always conflict between things you can do automatically and things salespeople should do. So in that case, we actually help people to make more informed, wise decision about how they can notify or how they can approach the domains. So what I'm actually doing these days, so when it comes to my data work, so I think I'm like 65% I focus on building modeling in data warehouse, about 50% of like reverse ETL, and other words is about data activation flow and explaining the result. I actually want to focus more on, I think, on activation side and explaining the result, because I think it's what analysts should do actually in their day-to-day jobs, because their job is actually to help people to make more informed decisions. And a couple of things that I'm not using these days in our setup, but I'm very bullish on, is data warehouse native data apps. So the first one that I have tried a bit, but it's Calixa, so it helps you with product classification. The second one is for example email marketing software, as for example Vero. It really helps us to build in-depth segmentation and personalization with just SQL queries, so I don't need to do any reverse ETL here. And it's actually might be a good fit for like product qualified nurturing. So if you have some problems of choosing the right platform, so I suggest looking in some where you have a direct access to your data warehouse. So what we actually learned from this experience. So, and what I've done a bit differently. So I think I would probably move to data warehouse during the first 10, 12 months for sure, because like the current state is pretty, like you can pick up Snowflake on self-service, I guess, these days, and you can pick up BigQuery quite easily as well. So there is no need to avoid that. Actually, it's not that you don't need actually DevOps people to help you with that. Also, don't actually underestimate the value of dimensional data modeling. So it helps you to build the structure and quality for your future analysis. Also, value process and over tooling. And because like you may say, okay, Postgres is not the best tool for data warehouse, but I mean, it still helps us to solve the problem. Like you better think about how to solve the problem rather to spend time choosing between BigQuery and Snowflake. Yeah, and take a look on data warehouse native apps. So I know that it's we're on conference that is sponsored by reverse ETL company, but I think like the data warehouse native apps is it's pretty prominent way of, and in some point it's solving the same problem as reverse ETL. So I hope actually Census will go in that direction as well. We really love Census in our environment. Yeah. So and always think about how to help people to make more educated the guesses in their journey of building B2B SaaS. So that's all for me. I'm very pleased to if you have any Q&A. So yeah, go
All
on.
right. Sweet. Just joining back on to read the first not me question I asked you one, but we'll go with Zach's question first. Um, do you ever come across bad source data during this process, or e.g. being proper event tracking and or backend data accuracy? And if you do, how are you advocating for the need for data integrity to your leadership and engineers?
Yeah, I think that happened a lot at the very beginning because Uh, well, the short answer is you need to focus on data quality pipeline from the very first step when you pick up your data warehouse, because we have actually because otherwise you will have it will lead to, for example, some problems with metric design. Is that what we came up recently? So we found a bug in our calculations that happened like, I don't know, around 2 months ago, which actually impacted the way we calculated one of our key metrics. And that actually motivated us to build the data quality pipeline across our infrastructure. And sometimes it happens that this data is actually coming from engineering, so we're not I'm still and that also a pain point, because um, you always need to communicate with your engineering team in terms like what data you need to as an analyst, because sometimes it's not enough to have just the transactional data. You want to have some event based data, and you have like there's also a trade-off between their backlog and your needs, so you need to keep that in mind.
Awesome. Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you for the answer. And I think we have time for me to ask you.
Yeah,
Actually, we don't. I will ask you this in the OA Club,
yeah,
which is my plug. If you have any other questions for Danny from his presentation, or just in general in the world of data or RevOps, feel free to ask them over in the Operational Analytics Club.
mhm.
And you can join if you aren't already a member via the CTA up in the navigation bar. But yeah, thank you, Danny, for all of your insights for your presentation, also for the census love. We appreciate it, and for the product feedback.